Welcome to Spilling the Tea on SAS, where we synergize life and education. Every Monday, it's 8 to 9 p.m. here only at the Education Channel. I'm your host, Mark Lataza. My topic is culture of peace, a prominent affirmation of modern life. So, my abstract here, this paper explore and analyze the culture of peace from the lens of prominent social characterology. And United Nations convened the idea of the culture of peace as a set of values, attitudes, modes of behavior, and ways of life. So the researcher maintained that culture of peace is attainable if our modern social structure center on creativity and productivity, which could eventually lead towards the human growth and development. Such in the argument of Eric Fromm, whose idea is based on the full humanization of every individual through reason and love. Modernity institutionalized a culture of violence. Modernity is a double-edged sword. It is ambivalence that creates social structures that push for pragmatic and technological ways of improving human life. It gives hope to build better life on the promise of human individualization and independence, yet it represses one's desire or wishes which are beneficial towards growth and development. Modern way of life paralyze the individual capacity to be creative and productive. Hence, human ideas and ideals bend towards the totalizing value system that eventually lead to the behaviors towards submission, reaction, and dependency. United Nations emphasized that the culture of violence is the ultimate challenge to attain culture of peace. It brought tension to our conformity, freedom, and peace. The culture of violence is conflicts that assault the human individual by too much hatred, misunderstanding, and balanced judgment, human right violation, polarization, and others. The common type of violence, conflict, various reflected to us feuding, revenge, killing, blood, revenge, vendetta, inter-tribal warfare, and clan conflicts in this modern life. So the researchers argue that this is all about the social character of modernity. The social characterology affects modernity, social behavior, and we need to be critical about social character in characterology in order to achieve the culture of peace. Culture social characterology is the actual problem why we cannot achieve the culture of peace. The instrumentalization of reason, the acceleration and dynamization of society through the capital, the extreme individualization of life, the lost humanity, etc. Therefore, the researcher contend in this essay or paper that unless we become aware of the immanent dynamic of a social character in our society, the culture of peace would just be a vision for Filipinos. So if you can see, there are technical terms here which I will discuss later now, one by one. Now, according to the UNESCO Preamble 1946, since war began in the mind of men, it is the minds of men that defense of peace must be constructed. So this is one of my basis no, in this writing the dissertation before we do the action. So at least we install to the minds of men the culture of peace, or even the ideology or the theory of peace. So, kalilintad, kalinaw, kapayapaan, or peace are different words, but they have the same meaning. Eric Fromm would assert it is one of our human ideals without which we become insane. This vision of peace is also the desire of the distant past, which until now the modern society, peace builders, and theories is still struggling in different social discourses just to cultivate the culture of peace. There must be a consensus that we need to have a concrete view of peace if we want to move the genuine culture of peace. So just a short um, diagram or maybe a description. So if you talk about culture, it's simply defined is a set of attitude, orientation, values, interests, and behaviors, principles, beliefs, traditions, and lived by any individual and commonly shared by any group of people of given community, as defined in sociology or anthropology books. And peace, it is just not simply a concept, but a whole reality to live by within us, a way of life practiced in different levels of relationship in a community. So peace means inner stillness and calm, a sense of well-being. Peace is an harmony and cooperation. Peace will be a reality when societies are just and fair to all. Peace is a societies exist when conflicts are resolved non-violently and when there are practical efforts made to satisfy the basic needs of people in fair and reasonable matters. But somehow these all are just somehow very visionary ideas. So that's why culture of peace is the wholeness of life where every person can live with dignity, where there is appreciation and respect for integrity of all persons, a way of life that promotes the well-being of all human beings, regardless of different culture backgrounds and historicity, where a group of people grows in dignity, self-determination, service, and solidarity with their fellow human beings. So, what's really this culture of peace according to United Nations? Is this a set of values, attitude, modes, behavior, and ways of life that reject violence and prevent conflict by tackling the roots causes to solve problems through dialogue and negotiation among individuals and groups and nations. And according to the different organization, in one voice, it is a frame of sustainable peace consisting of values, attitude, and behavior reflected in the United Nations mantra or preamble or general description of culture peace. It also reflects and inspires social interaction and sharing based on the principle of freedom, justice, democracy, human rights, tolerance, and solidarity. It is the further rejects violence, endeavors to prevent conflict by tackling the root causes of the problem through dialogue and negotiation, and guarantees the full exercise of rights and means to participate fully in the development process of the society. So this is one of the copy table book, okay, that I use with different NGOs combining the definition of culture peace. And according to the Norwegian-born American sociologist, now I forgot, I did not mention her name, no? As separate entities exist but are not common, they can be identified in communities that adhere to the religious teaching of nonviolence and relatively isolated indigenous communities that handle all conflicts with an easy but practice nonviolence. See Elise Bowlbing, okay? And also, according to one of the, I I missed the, sorry, I missed the name of the person in the PowerPoint presentation. But he's a cultural anthropologist interested in how popular cultural performance shape meaning, especially among youth in Africa. He said that cultivate and maintain a culture of peace, individual, communities, and government ought to proactively pursue. It's through a strategic process that builds the right circumstances for its thriving. And another one is to emphasize the Rwandese and universal values of justice, peace, tolerance, respect for human rights, gender equality, solidarity, and democracy. According to Ching and Kurtz, peace is not only simply a lack of war or non-violence. Peace means that eradication of all facets of injustices. So there are lots of definition of culture of peace with different sociologists, anthropologists, philosophers. So to come up based on the definition, so culture of peace is simply dismantling the culture of war, living with justice, compassion, building cultural respect, reconciliation, and solidarity, promoting human rights and responsibility, living in harmony with the earth, cultivating inner peace. This is the flower. They call it as a flower of culture of peace. Now, according to Eric Fromm, a German sociologist, psychologist, psychoanalyst, sociologist, humanistic philosopher, and democratic socialist, the condition of peace is not only the absence of violence. Instead, peace is the full humanization of individual through full relationship with other human beings and relationship with nature. It means that we can attain our new paradise, live in peace, see the truth, act on justice, use logic for a reason, and develop in love. Now, in this prevalent in this modern society, okay, we yearn for culture of peace because it provokes by the tension of modern society somehow imbued with a culture of violence. These are the visible and invisible conflicts that end up to violence. So if you talk about war, it is just only a part of violence or part of conflict. So this conflict turned to violence that characterized by sporadic outbursts of retaliation, violence between families and kinship groups, especially in Mindanao, no? And other parts of the world. And we all know already that there is a problem in other countries. This phenomenon frequently occurs in areas where the government or the central authority is weak and address where there is a perceived lack of justice and security, according to Torres. So culture violence is rooted in hate and destructiveness, according to Prom. And hate and destructiveness are impulses which obscure rational and objective thinking and easily create polarization in that they reinforce each other on both sides of political spectrum. The main problem with the idea that aggressiveness is an instinct charge with spontaneously increasing energy lies in the extraordinary variability of aggressiveness among individual and society. So for Prom, it is a syndrome of decay. Syndrome of decay is a reverterate necrophilic character, according to him, which is to love of death. This is the definition of necrophilic character, no? Which is the love of death, incestuous symbiosis, and malignant narcissism. A regressive character orientation, which is a deadly form of destructiveness that touch to the core problem of evil in the world. So later on, I will discuss kung saan ba ang hugot ni Prom about this culture of violence. Thus, the possibility root of necrophilic character may be traced to self-serving value of the part of each person, like in business, protectionism, cartel, monopoly behavior, tax evasion, and others. In government, graft and corruption, and others. And other sector, dishonesty, lack of concern for the common good, and etc., or personal interest. Now, in my statement of problem here, I try to answer all of these questions though. But so I try to answer what is the prophetic concept of peace, why the Fromian notion of social characterology and not the other psychoanalysis or anthropologists or philosophers, what is the social characterology of modern society, and why do we need to analyze the culture of peace through social characterology? And is there possibility to mold the social character of modern society towards a visionary culture of peace? So I use the quantitative, okay, textual analysis. Actually, one of my proposal is quanti-quali, but of course in philosophy, more on the qualitative textual analysis as philosophy do, okay, with other subjects or topics. So this research will rely on Fromm's work, notably those that deals with the notion of social characterology, and works that are useful for this study will be analyzed, examined, and evaluate towards the visionary culture of peace. So I have here the culture of peace framework. So the individual will try to analyze the social character types, okay, according to Fromm, so that he or she can fit into the modern society's social character. Now, the challenge is to understand the social characterology of Fromm using the concept of a prophetic concept of peace, the violence and destructivity, the character types of Fromm, the productivity, before moving to the concept of culture of peace, which is a visionary for every one of us. So in the prophetic concept of peace, according to Rainier Funk, actually the executor of Eric Fromm, and I can say that he's still alive now. He's I think 79 years old right now, live in Germany. And last year I emailed him regarding my topic because he's the one execute the writings of Fromm. And there are lots of suggestions according to him in my subject. So parang naging advisor ko na rin siya at the same time. I'm lucky enough na nabuhay pa siya para maging advisor. And some comments na binigay niya sa akin to pursue my studies is more on the quantitative analysis. But of course, that will be my next journey siguro na after I feel finish this degree. So according to him, the prophetic concept of peace of Fromm is based, kasi si Fromm kasi is a Jewish so there is the religious aspect of Fromm, that men and women live in the Garden of Eden is complete harmony with each other and with nature. So there is a peace, no necessity to work, there is no choice, no freedom, no thinking either. However, this state of harmony is broken when Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit. So consequently, both were expelled, disrupting the original oneness with nature. So from the oneness with nature, which is in the Garden of Eden, based on the Bible, is peaceful place. No worries, wala kang poproblemahin lahat. So the human was at one with nature, paradise, but was like an animal without consciousness of himself. But as the Bible expressed it symbiotically, once Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, okay, for the first time, man became aware of himself. That is the first step into freedom. With this step, human history is made for the first time, and man's original harmony with nature is broken. So Funk emphasizes that this paradise story is only an allegory used by Fromm to reveal the humanity's narcissistic tendency, revealing humanity's regression. Although away from the paradisical environment, both gained the faculty of reason, which gave them the sense to be free. Freedom becomes the cornerstone of evolution of human history. From this, the context of peace started away from the paradise. Peace is embedded within history. So since time immemorial, we already longing for this peace because we want to go back to the uh, original paradise. Okay. And the act of disobedience, according to Fromm, is an act of freedom in the beginning and the beginning of reason. The myth speaks of other consequences of the first act of freedom. The original harmony between man and nature is broken. So that's why the sin of Adam and Eve is not explained in the terms of the act itself. Eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil was not bad per se. In fact, for both the Jewish and Christian religions agree that the ability to differentiate between good and evil is basic virtue. The sin was disobedient, the challenge to the authority of God, who was afraid that man, having already become one of us, to know how good and evil, could put forth his hand and also take of the tree of life and live forever. So the point of departure for such a historical view is man's break with the original unity with nature and striving for a new unity in reason and love. So what From trying to say here is we want to go back, no, to the soul of tribe, kung saan tayo nanggaling, like this peaceful environment that we have in the paradise. Okay, allegorically. But of course, hindi na mangyayari yon. So therefore, we strive na lang for new unity in reason and love to attain this visionary or to the prophetic concept of peace. So that is the prophetic concept of peace of Prom. Now, medyo mahaba-haba yung text na yon, but of course, I just emphasize only the highlight, no, or emphasize the essential. Now, talking about the social characterology, what is the social characterology that hinders us to go back to this culture of peace, to the original environment that we want? Okay, Prom comments that I was deeply troubled young man who was obsessed by the questions of how war was possible, by the wish of to understand the irrationality of humans' mass behavior, by the passionate desire of peace and international understanding. More, I have become deeply suspicious of all official ideologies and declaration and filled with the conviction of all one must doubt. So actually, syempre si Prom is a product of World War I and World War II. That's why after the World War II, the United Nations convened to end this war or to create a culture of peace. And also Prom, okay? Kaya that's why this is dialogue here is young man pa siya nung nagkaroon ng World War II. That's why he tried also to, to understand what's this idea of peace. So for the common ground between Freud rather and Marx, kasi yung basis ng kanyang sa kanyang studies ay talagang Freudian. Okay, and he combined Marx. So sabi niya, ang common ground dito sa dalawang kanyang sinusundan na philosophers and psychologists is all of us must doubt. Okay? The omnibus est debutandum. And nihil humananum amihe alienum puto is I believe nothing human to be alien to me. And third is the truth shall set you free. So this is the context of the basis of the social characterology, how it create yung social characterology na sinasabi ni Prom. So both Freud and Marx believe that what we think are all clouded by glitches, ideas, rationalization, ideologies which fill our minds with which form of basis of what they mistake for reality. So truth, awareness of it could induce change. For Marx, this is the concept of Marx, truth is the weapon for social change. But for Freud, it is the weapon for individual change. Okay? So doubt, truth, and humanism are the guiding principle in dissecting pathologies of the society. So that's why in the in the modern society, there are theories, and from base his social characterology based on these two socialists and psychologists. So for Marx, the ideologies of society that make man neurotic, and for Freud, it is the maladaptation of the libido to the demand of the society. So in short, the social characterology of Fromm is the combination of these two, okay? These two concepts of Freud and Marx. That's why he created his own identity and he called it social characterology. And according to him, it should be noted that Marx, like Spinoza and other and later Freud, believed that most of what men consciously think is false consciousness is ideology and rationalization, that the true mainspring of man's action are unconscious to him. According to Freud, they are rooted in man's libidinal striving. Sa mga psychologists, okay, sa psychology subject, alam na alam nila to, no? Alam na alam ninyo to, no, na the libidinal striving. According to Marx, and sa mga sociologists naman, no? They are rooted in the whole organization of man, which directs his consciousness in certain direction and blocks him being aware of certain facts and experiences. So ano ba talaga yung mga pinagsasabi nila? Okay, from taking against from Freud, but of course hindi all the time, no? Kaya dito nagkaroon ng sarili si Fromm kasi hindi naman lahat hindi niya kumbaga ina-accept lahat ng principle ng both Freud and Marx. But nagkaroon din siya ng against, no? That's why he created this social characterology. Declares that the fact that millions of people share the same vices does not make these vices virtue. Okay, and the fact that they share, say, so many errors does not make the errors to be truth. So this principle, until now, we follow this somehow, no, the principle, okay, of this from without knowing that it is from. So in the psychosocial philosophy of Fromm, he combines these two, no, Freud and Marx, and derive in his own, which is in the Freudian is more on the sexual drive. It's constant and cannot be postponed, and self-preservation is constant. Okay, it cannot never be postponed. The sexual drive can be postponed, and self-preservation is constant. It cannot be postponed. So this is the two division, no? So the sexual drive or libido, okay, the tension, the reduction of tension, pleasure, pleasure. This is now the pleasure principle by way of sublimation, reaction, formation we develop to the society. Okay, science, culture, religion, arts, etc. It must be noted that the pleasure principle is opposed to the reality principle. If there is no equilibrium, neurosis happens. So that's why binalance ni Fromm, no, ang social characterology of Freud and Marx. So here, pasensya na po, for long text talaga pag mga philosophy text kasi. But between pleasure and principle is discoverable, it is possible to know whether the psychic impulses of the determined by economic factors. So if it is the pleasure principle that drives man to act rather than interplay between the psychic drives of the social condition, Fromm maintains that the psychic structure of social entities must be understood through their social structure, that is, through their social economic situation. The difference does not lie in the psychoanalytical method itself, but in the absence of sociological starting point, a lack that subsequently become methodologically relevant. So Fromm develops the pseudo-Marxist analysis of the society. So that is the social characterology in the term of Fromm. Okay, pseudo-Marxist analysis of society. That's it. Okay. The formation of characterology, which adaptation, assimilation, socialization is equivalent to psychic entity, is reformed, okay, in various ways. So character here is how we react to the demands of the external environment, world, people, and self around us. Okay, character, says Fromm, is the relatively permanent form in which human energy canalized in the process of assimilation and socialization. So the moment we interact, okay, the moment we process, okay, it becomes our character based on the external forces. So following the marks, so there is the constant and hunger and relatively appetite, passion, motivation, equivalent to determined by the process of production. As for Freud, Fromm calls certain psychic attitudes common members of the group as libidinal structure. So this libidinal structure is the medium through which economic exerts its effort to influence man's intellectual and mental manifestation. So the result of interplay between the economic and libidinal structure is what the term social character. So how this is how we create our social character. So ito na naman, ano naman social character? So it is the function of the social character to shape the energies of the member of the society in such a way that that their behavior is not a matter of conscious decision as to whether or not to follow the social pattern, but one of wanting to act as they have to act and at the same time finding gratification in acting according to the requirements of the culture. So in short, and for Wilde, the social character develops as the adaptation of change in social economic structure, and it influences the formation of ideas, doctrines, and even individual concepts. Reciprocally, the ideological superstructure then reinforce particular social character that are functional for the further development of the socio-economic structure. So the social character operates internalization of external necessities and from sees it the harnessing of energy for the task of given economic and social system. And for Milan, family is the psychic agent of the society, transmit the spirit of society into character to child. It is also this context that various social institutions like school and religion transfer the same spirit in molding the same character structure. And for Cortina, sustained parents are also powerful agent of socialization. So conveying conscious and unconscious values, attitude, and expectation of the social and cultural group to which they belong. So all of this, to summarize the social character of Fromm, family is a psychic agent of the society. So na-mold ang bata okay, sa family, kung anong iniisip ng bata, ano yung magiging ideology niya, kung ano yung sinasabi ng mga magulang. So the child psychic formation develops through the family, which turn serves as the medium of the surrounding of the family. So the basic society now is the family. Doon nagsisimula ang kanyang social characterology. Paano siya huhubugin, paano siya mag-isip, paano siya mag-interact. Okay, kaya kung ang mga bata natin ay nasa four corners of our house lang, okay, wala masyado siyang interaction outside. So parang mahirap. Not like yung mga iba na parang playing ground yung palengke, playing ground yung kalsada. Okay, they have their own different society, okay, that molds them. So for Fromm, repression, reaction formation, sublimation happen basically depending on the educational process. That's why school help us also to process the formation, the reaction, the repression of the students that we have, which is the expression of the overall psychic structure of the society. So that's how the social character create. Kaya kung ang social character, for example, in Mindanao, magulo, so the mindset of the people there ay talagang unstable. Okay? Parang ang nakikita mo lang is war. You're living in war, no? Kaya parang ang hirap na mabuhay sa mundo na yan ang kagigisnan, rather, or kagigisnan, tama ba Tagalog? Ng ating mga anak kasi that will be the social character, okay, na madadala nila in the society kung saan man sila pupunta. But in short, so the individual will interact with the world towards self-preservation, which is physiologically cannot postpone. Ito yung mga pangangailangan natin, no? And sex drive, which is always give a pleasure and can be postponed. So dalawa. Okay, this is the Marxist Freudian and Marxist principle, which is turns to a social character. And this instinct not product of impulse but a product of society. For Fromm, ang sa kanya kasi, ang nagdidictate sa atin is the society. Kung anong gagawin natin. Kasi pag hindi ka sumunod, there is an alienation on that. So this instinct, the society that activates the impulse to be creative and productive. So kung you are living in a community which is productive and creative, you become creative and productive also. Our mentally is swayed by society, and the impact of demands of the society is powerful. Kung anong sinasabi ng society natin, sinusunod natin. Kasi kung hindi natin susundin, you are outcast. Okay? Ano tawag nun? You cancel yourself. Okay? That's a term na narinig ko, no? So I cannot cancel myself, no? Kasi even though everyone canceling me, no? If we do not follow it, there will be a chance of regression. So pag hindi mo sinunod yun, there will be regression in the part of the person. So instead, you are moving forward. The individual will regress in time. So the marker enterprise, we act not like humans or brothers and sisters. So parang lumalabas that we act because we need to act, and there is somebody that dictates the unconsciously to survive. So actually may freedom tayo, pero hindi natin alam, unconsciously. Okay, we follow the demands of the society because we want to survive. So it defines by society which paramount to love, no matter how evil the person is, the individual drive will change the social character. In the good side, ito naman yung nakita ko dito kay Fromm, no, na example, the person live in a war zone and then dadalhin mo siya in a peaceful community, the person will transform because he will adapt unconsciously on the environment kung anong mayroon siya. Kaya that's why family is very important, no? Kung ang mga magulang ay araw-araw nagmumurahan, araw-araw nagsisigawan, walang pagmamahalan in our terminal terms, no, in our common terms in sa bahay natin, yung common language natin, eh paglabas ng bata sa society, ganun din. Magmumura din yan. Okay, so on and so forth. Kasi nga, yun ang demand na nakikita niya unconsciously doon sa family. Pagdating sa community, may demand naman ngayon, either he will progress or regress. So the individual become part of the society and the world towards self-preservation, as I mentioned earlier. So Fromm argues that it is the society that activate the impulse. So ito lang yung problem dito, no? The society will activate the impulse. He emphasized that all of these are instinct and not product of impulses, but product of culture. So if the impulses of the community is more on peace, so the persons, the people, or the individual will forward to that peace. If the community or the culture is more on the violence, so there will be a regression to the part of the people, even though unconsciously kasi niya nasusunod or nafa-follow yung demands ng society. So what happened in our childhood is what we call the soil of the tribe. But we could go back because every day is a revert. Okay, progress of life, man is need to move. In history, it is impossible to stop in a particular time because it will become a disorder in the minds and hearts of men or individual. So ito yung soil of the tribe na sinasabi niya na allegorically, yung go back to the peaceful community where in Garden of Eden. But of course, hindi na daw mangyayari yun. But we can do as much possible, no, to go back with reason and love. So ang tanong parati sa akin ng advisor ko, why from social characterology and not the other sociologists, psychologists, anthropologists, or other philosophers social characterology? So I find it it's more interesting, no, si Fromm because of these 5 ways of escaping insecurity prevalent to the modern society. Kasi in Freud, there is only the non-productive, okay, the receptive, exploitive, hoarding, marketing, necrophilic, and destructive. Fromm added, okay, in his own version, the productive, which is there is a love and reason, the working, okay, and the result will care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge. So yung productive na to, ito yung dinagdag ni Fromm, no, as part of his social characterology. So we identify ourselves, no, in this orientation, the non-productive and productive. So if there will be a question, if there will be a community that projects purely productive, according to Fromm, there is no pure community or society that promotes productive only. There are always the combination of productive and non-productive. That's why it's very challenging to get this culture of peace, because there is always the presence of non-productive. So either it is um, receptive, exploitive, hoarding, marketing, necrophilic. So I would like to discuss one by one, no, but because of time constraint, so this is just only the highlight of the social characterology, the social character of the types of social character that we need to understand. Saan ba tayo nabilong dito? Alin ba tayo? Or saan ba yung direction na natin in the society that we have right now? So I think it's my third question there, that social character of the modern. Kasi this is one of the problem of my paper, no? We cannot attain the culture of peace unless we understand the social characterology of the modern society. And according to Piccola, from understand of modernity relies of significant upon the overlapping concept of crisis alienation. But he did not see it as a mere catastrophic, but recognized an element of hope in it. So the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, this is the history of philosophy, no? Paved the way to the liberation of man from the shackles of the medieval world, individuality, subjectivity, autonomy rather, is equivalent to all of these are modernity's expression of what is to be human. So for Fromm, in his book For Man, for himself shares with the progressivism, no? The idea that we can determine the value of historical process by utilizing the concepts of progression and regression. So there's always you progress or you regress. Okay, so the very achievements of modernity, the development of the technology that we have right now, the improvement, material conditions, and the new emphasis of subjectivity contain also to the seeds of alienation and ruin. So the product of technology that we have right now, no, as we all know, as we can see, okay, either this technology that we have right now can alienate us from the society, which is somehow parang obviously nakikita natin, no? Nagsi-cellphone na lang buong maghapon, no interaction na with the community. So parang the modern society that we have right now, the social characterology change already. Okay? Parang nabubuhay ka na pwede kang mag-isa na, basta may cellphone lang. Buong maghapon, no? Yung mga bata natin or mga anak natin or mga pamangkin or whatever na observation natin, parang ano ba, productive ba? Or they are ruining they are doing the regressive. So that's not my but that's my personal question. So from us, why did everything crumble to pieces at the very moment when man seemed to stand at the highest peak of his historical achievement? How can we understand the enormous gap between expectation and reality? So parang ano lang yan, Shopee lang yan, no? Pag nakita mo, ang ganda-ganda ng picture, pero pagdating sa reality, there is totoong nakita mo, no? So just analogy. So there is the gap, no, between expectation and reality. So how it is possible that a very moment of the human race seems to be on the verge of fulfilling the dreams of century? There is the tremendous indifference to the destruction of all. Majority are passive, orally and anally fixated by the sexual morality of societies. This is a Freudian concept, no? The stages which we are fixated only in the oral, anal, and sexual morality of the society. So we base only our satisfaction on the pleasure of ourselves, no? Not more, we become passive of that, and not more on the responsibility, not more on the reason, so on and so forth. So each society is structured and operates in certain ways which necessitated by a member of objective conditions, such as condition of the methods production, distribution, depends on the distribution, which depends on the material, raw material, industrial techniques, climate, further political and geographical factors, and cultural traditions and influences to which society is exposed. There is no society in general, but only specific social structure which operates in different and ascertainable ways. So in the same society, he examined the alienation effects of modern capitalism. This is a Marxist naman, no? From Examine It, and discusses historical and contemporary alternatives, particularly communitarian system. So social psychologist Eric Fromm present new ideas for a reorganization of economics, politics, and culture that would support the individual mental health and our profound human needs for love and freedom. Okay, that's why here now we are fast approaching in terms of the politics that we have now. Um, why we choose person that we all know already, no? Whatever, no. I will not comment on this politics because it is a sensitive right now. Pero there is always, okay, the need of love and freedom. So ang question ngayon ni From, okay, in this modern world, are we sane? Are we still in our sanity? Why we have to create a greater material wealth, okay, than any other society in the history of the human race, yet we have managed to kill of people, of population in arrangement of what we call war. So are we familiar naman siguro with the Ukraine and Russia conflict? So are we still, okay, as a human person, are we still insane or in our sanity? So it is sanity or insanity. A few days after the mutual slaughter is over, the enemies of yesterday are our friends. The friends of yesterdays are our enemies, and again, we begin to paint them in which appropriate colors of black and white. So this is the challenge now of the modern society. And we are now facing now, and one of my problem now is how to answer the problem of Russia and the Ukraine. But of course, I will not give answer to them now because in principle that I mentioned here, all of this is a guiding principle, and we all know the concern of Russia over the Ukraine, and it's somehow maybe purely politics, or there is an individual um, um, gain on it. So it should be noted that Marx, like Spinoza and other Freud, okay, I think I mentioned this already. So give a definition of mental. So Fromm give here the mental health, okay? It is this ability to love and to create. This must be the mental health that we have according to Fromm in the social modern life or the modern society. Their ability to love and create. The liberation from the ties to clan and soil. No, we cannot go back to the original, to the soil of the soil of the tribe that we call from call it. So the development of the objectivity and reason is now, okay, we need to do in light of the requirements of mental health as seen by Fromm in its prevailing society be regarded as insane. So if we cannot do that, then we will go to the insanity, which is a regression of the modern society. In order to change this situation, Fromm suggests the transformation of capitalism into some sort of socialism, into sane society, the precondition for the individual mental health and happiness. He calls his approach to the problem of mental health and society is humanistic psychoanalysis. Dito kilala si Fromm no, sa humanistic psychoanalysis, which appears largely an elaboration of Marx's concept of community fetishism. So again, he adopted Marx and Freud. So therefore, the individual is only a replica of what the ideologies of the system wants to tell us. So this is the reality now. Okay, the modern society is a replica. The society that we have right now is what is the ideology the system wants to tell us. Ideology is just an ordinary set of beliefs, the way of we eat, we talk, we dress, we use, and social character of capitalist world permits consciousness that this world becomes the normative structure and no one can question that. So kung ano yung the capitalist world imposed to us, yun ang sinusunod natin. Kasi pag hindi mo sinunod yan, you are canceled. So it is patterned already as normal life and becomes system and becomes ideological, and this creates false consciousness. So unconsciously ginagawa natin siya and it will become false consciousness kasi nga we follow only the demands and dictate of the social capitalist. That's why pag may bagong cellphone, atat na atat tayong bumili para in na in tayo. Okay? Bakit nawawala na yung mga cellphone na analog, no? Nandiyan naman pero syempre parang pag nasa society ka, no, this is just only an example. Pag nasa society ka or nasa group ka, bakit nahihiya ka ilabas yung 3210, no, na kinasanayan natin, o 5110. Ang una kong cellphone is Alcatel, yung parang safeguard. Ewan ko kung mayroon pa ngayon ng ganun. So, bakit tayo nahihiya? Because there is an affirmation to society, uy, makaluma ka. Okay. But some people, walang pakialam about that, no? Kasi nga, they identify already what their characterology, even though other will cancel them. That's a term that we use right now, no? Cancellation of individual. So, in short, in our layman's term, if you cannot follow the modern characterology of the modern society, then you will be canceled by the society because you are not following. So technically, so this system alienates the individual because we express our thoughts, and that is already normal to the individual. So even though we express our feelings, our thoughts, sometimes we think na the society, i-affirm ba nila to? Okay, kaya nga minsan pag sa mga estudyante ko, pag nagtuturo, no, kaya this subject is close to me, lalo na yung con world at saka ethics, kasi they are the combination na itong topic ko. Con world, culture piece, and then the ethics, which is more on the ethical perception that the moment that you post on Facebook, okay, pag walang nag-like, bakit mo dinidelete and then i-repost ulit? Because you want other confirm that, no, you want confirmation, and there are individuals like that, no. Pag wala yun, depressed na sila, and that is regression. So the individual aspire for better life, but because of the system, we don't have choice anymore. So kasi dictate ito, no, kaya nga may mga kapitbahay ako nag-aaway sa Facebook kasi nga they want everyone to know, no, na nag-aaway sila. Tapos later on i-delete nila. Okay, this is not a live life but a top down. So we can express our thoughts, but the capitalists don't care. Okay, there are only two ways, and ito yung sinasabi ni Prom: move forward or regress. And sometimes, no, depression is more on the regression kasi nga there is no affirmation of the society. Okay, nararamdaman mo, no, parang kinakancel ka na ng society. So that's why there is a regression. Okay, you cannot stand in your own kasi nga sasabihin ka you are aloof, you are not part of the society. That's why we strive ourselves to be part of the society, even it is a false consciousness. So the human attain already actually from modernity and the peak of his nature being human, individual and autonomous. That's why we are free from the soil of the tribe. When there is the freedom that we have, we have this freedom. We are free and subject for our own action, but we don't think collectively as one to traverse to one destination. This is the only problem now. We are free, but we don't think collectively. To comprehend the world must be through love and reason. This is the proposal of Brom, no? The elements of which consist of care, respect, and responsibility and knowledge. And nakikita to sa kanyang famous book, no? The Art of Loving. Ginagamit natin to sa mga philosophy major, sa ethics, and sa philosophy man, okay, of Eric Fromm, The Art of Loving. So now, yes, malapit na yung aking time, no? So, na aking presentation. Sorry, time na aking presentation. So, what is now, okay, the culture of peace in the modern society kung ganun yung nagiging problem natin? So nevertheless, we cannot entirely agree on the impossibility of cultural peace in this modern society because we believe that social character can be directed toward progressive, productive, and creative. We are peace-loving, we have families, friends, belief, knowledge, reason, and most of all, capable of loving. So from always positive, no, okay, in his concept of peace, that it is possible, okay, even it is a presumption because of this context. So to unravel the difference that causes tension in peace, conformity, and freedom, we need to comprehend modern society's pathology. So we need to understand the pathology of the society. We need to evaluate modern society's psychic impulses, if it is towards the culture of peace or aversely redirected towards opposite direction. That's why in Mindanao, since time na immemorial o time na pinanganak talaga ako, no, Mindanao is talagang kinalakihan ko talaga na may gera, no. Nag-college ako, na nagkaroon ng bombing dito sa Abubakar, Camp Abubakar. Actually, ano lang yan, likod lang ng isang bundok lang ang pagitan ng Camp Abubakar and our town, no? And naririnig mo yung bombing, and that's June of 2000, and I cannot forget that because I'm still college student that time, no? Wag niyo nang bilangin yung edad, no, kung kung college ako nung time na yon. But obviously, that is a pathology of the society there, the ideology of society, no, war. So that's why United Nations debates on this culture of peace to attain the true genuine dialogue, no? So it can be through the dialogue of words, dialogue of life, dialogue of religious experience, dialogue of action, dialogue of values, cultural interests. And according to Chodhori, a culture of peace concept has now grown in global movements. Marami na po mga NGOs just to promote, no, the modern social character going to this concept of peace. That's why there is a peace education. Chad approved the peace education on the world, so on and so forth. It compasses the tolerance, disarming, sustainable economic and social development, democratic participation, gender equality, freedom expression, and respect for human rights. So we are now in the process of this now. The Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Life, Chairman Man-Hin Lee, calls for the youth around the world to join the voice calling for the peace and the cessation of war. Mayroon siyang letter dito, no, regarding the Russian and Ukraine. That's why he called out for the cessation of war. Kasi nga si Chairman Man-Hin Lee is a product of the World War II veteran. Okay? So the Silsila Dialogue Movement naman in Mindanao, no, especially in Zamboanga, also a call out that it is difficult to achieve what we wish to happen, but if we find many people work for the common good, it will be something that will change society. Adding that our Silsila goals is to promote the culture of dialogue. It radically invites people to have personal and spiritual transformation and to bring this into society to have social transformation. If you are many who works in this way and this experience, we can contagiously spirit in the positive way of the society. And si Federico Mayor naman, no, of the UN, UNESCO, sabi niya, peace is reverence for life. Peace is the most precious position of humanity. Peace is more than the end of armed conflict. Peace is mode of behavior. Peace is deep-rooted to commitment to the principle of liberty and justice, equality, and solidarity among all human beings. Peace is also a harmonious participation in humankind which environment. So there are lots of NGOs and of course philosophers like Eric Fromm shows that the culture of peace sets a social character towards syndrome of growth. Ito yung proposal niya. There will be a syndrome of growth that echoes from notion of biophilic character, which is a love of life, independence, and overcoming of narcissism. He said that I believe that every man represents humanity, and we may differ concealing intelligence, health, and talents, yet we are all one. We are all saints, sinners, adults, and children, and no one can set himself up as anybody superior and judge him. So just to run down na lang no may so that I will end on time. So human nature is radically different from animal according to Fromm. The essence of human nature is expressed as needs of for relatedness, transcendence, rootedness, sense of identity, and frame of reference. Human being creates a society in order to fulfill basic needs, personalities development in accordance with the opportunities that a particular society allows the productive and creative towards culture of peace. Now, ang last question dun is there a model on this? So I will take the model in my hometown. The basic assumption here is that peace is only possible if productive orientation prevails. One of the model of this culture of peace to show that it is possible to achieve is the tri-people hybrid conflict resolution approach adopted in Alameda North, Cotabato, enabling a culture of peace in Mindanao, Philippines. I presented this already in international forum and hopefully published my paper this last December, and wala pa po, inaantay ko pa. So this is the advocacy of my father, and according to him, peace building is the main program of municipality of Alameda. 10 years ago, he tried to create this peace building. And Sultan Bagil Butig, one of the commander of rebel that turned to uh, in government and part of the culture of peace program. According to him, land conflict is oftentimes the root cause of violence in Alamada. Okay, even those with the same blood are fighting because of the land they're going to inherit. That's why the Alamada implement the alternative dispute resolution, okay, conflict mitigation, fact-finding mission, dialogue, trauma healing process, mediation, social justice, conflict settlement, conflict resolution, conflict transformation, restorative justice. So this alternative dispute resolution, okay, between our brothers and sisters, Muslim, tribe people, no, Muslim, Christians, and Lumads in Alamada, North Cotabato. So 10 years ago, this is effective because so far sa term, we have settled at least 18 family feuds using the mechanism of alternate dispute resolution. Yung family feuds o yung RIDO na tinatawag natin sa Mindanao, napakahirap po i-settle yon kasi cultural po yon. Okay, ubusan po ng lahi yon from, you all know already, no, in the family feud of our brothers and sisters in Mindanao. And 18 family feuds po and going up to 25, okay, at present. So alternative dispute resolution can be attained, as I mentioned, dialogues, okay, words, life, experience, action, at ito yung naging basis, no, for the Alamada peace journey. And now, the phase one is the peace building, more recovery, livelihood 10 years ago. Now, there is the tourism, medical, dental, agriculture support, animal breeding, social services. Kasi pag mayroong gera, walang tourism. Kasi lahat ng mga nadadaanan doon, syempre, of course, paano ka magkaroon ng tourism? Like this in the picture, Asik-Asik Falls. One of the camp of the rebel before, 10 years ago, no, 12 years ago. But because of this culture of peace program, na open na siya sa public. Okay, and you can visit that one. You can check in the internet, no, Asik-Asik Falls in Dado, Alamada, North Cotabato, no. So if there is a peace building, there is a moral recovery. If there is a moral recovery, yung mga tao magtatanim, magkakaroon sila ng livelihood, okay, and so on and so forth. And the phase 3 now, they are in the restorative justice, which is under the leadership of the new mayor. Okay, so restorative justice na ngayon is this one. It's a reconciliation with element of truth, mercy, repentance, and justice among the tribe people of Alamada. You cannot go back. Okay, hindi mo na may babalik yung mga buhay na nawala. So therefore, it's more on moving forward. It's more on the restorative justice. This is now the program of the new administration. And therefore, culture of peace can be instituted in every person. The gain of each person must be placed in his fitting context, the sustainable improvement of the quality of life, living in peace. In other words, to attain peace, it needs to be primarily geared towards responding to the visible and invisible conflicts, the achieve of peaceful community that does not compromise the ability of future generation to meet their needs and security. Any move in elevating this visible and invisible conflicts must find an anchor in its person efforts to promote and philosophize on the essence of peace. So for my conclusion, to sum up, the culture of peace is still possible even in this modern society. We need to evaluate modern society's pathology using from social characterology to know whether the direction is towards productive or unproductive orientation. The direction of the culture of peace will be through productive orientation. So hence, the researcher proposes that the culture of peace could only be realized when the social character could bring forth productive orientation. This productive orientation entails the 4 essential elements of love and reason, where every person lives in destination with mutual respect, care, responsibility, and knowledge, as essential to attain the full humanization. But it should be made clear by analyzing the dominant character orientation and their usually non-productive impact, the marketing, the narcissistic, and the ego-oriented character. This could interpret particularly in regard the question of aggression, violence, and destructive. So felt that the poor negative orientation were the result of people living in the having mode, where all the focus is placed on consuming, obtaining, and possessing to the point where our possessions end up possessing us. Okay? So therefore, to be the productive orientation from beliefs that we must exist in what we call the being mode. This is being mode are defined by their actions. They are avoid living with a mask on and instead experience life directly through relating to others and practicing individual freedom and responsibility. In this modern and interactive world, everything is a matter of awareness, mobilization, education, prevalent, and information at all levels of society and all countries. The elaboration and establishment of culture of peace requires wholehearted participation of everyone. Countries must be cooperate, international organizations must be coordinate their different actions, and population must fully participate to the full in the development of their societies. So the researcher recommends further that only when society becomes conscious of their social character as a group, community, or society, that their psychic disposition could be redirected towards the attainment of culture of peace, which in return becomes the practical affirmation of modern life. So for me, culture of peace is not just a concept, but it is a choice. So my references, and of course, you can contact me. Okay, thank you very much.